For Unit 8, I have chosen to do a podcast. This podcast is going to be based all around Liverpool, as they are my favourite club, and I want to make this podcast not just to entertain my audience, but to also inform them of the news related to Liverpool. For example, transfer news and injury updates. This podcast will include me and one other Liverpool fan, where we're going to do a Gabfest type of podcast with some scripted questions to start the conversation. I'm also going to create a website for my podcast that will include my episode and will have a description and social media links. My inspiration is going to be mainly Anfield Agenda, as I have watched them for the past year, because they produce fun but informative content where they go through the match. For example, after a match they rate each player out of 10 on their performance on that game, and this is something that I want to implement into my podcast, as me and my co-host could also explain why we have given each rating, and this is a good topic and section that we could have each episode. There's also a group called the Redmen TV, and they have many different things on their YouTube channel, from podcasts to clips from interviews. The main thing that I want to use from these guys would be using one of the clips from interview. For example, there's one where Fabinho talks about Luis Diaz. I could use this clip in my podcast to start off a conversation where we could talk about Luis Diaz and his impact for the team. Here's some screenshots. Here's some screenshots of Anfield Agenda's YouTube channel and the link to their channel. From the screenshots you can see that they give news early and upload a lot of daily videos. For my research, I'm going to watch some videos from Anfield Agenda and the Redmen, and I'm going to write an analysis where I talk about what they do on the podcast and key things that they do. Like if they do a scripted intro and outro, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm also going to explain how they present themselves. For example, if they are informal or formal, and this could be an inspiration to present myself just like them. I'm also going to do some research on the latest news on players and injury updates, as I'm going to make my podcast informative to Liverpool fans. I'm also going to do a questionnaire that I'm going to send to Liverpool fans so that I could get some information of what my audience would like to hear on my podcast. And I'm going to find a suitable clip from the Redmen to use to start a topic. I have set a deadline for March 25th for my research and analysis on Anfield Agenda and the Redmen, as there's going to be a lot to write about my research. I've then set a deadline for the 1st of April to get my questionnaire done and to get all my feedback and and I've set a deadline for my planning of my website and planning on my scripted sections for the 22nd of April. I've planned to record my podcast and make my website for the 1st of May, and I will make sure that I'm going to have my creation of the website and podcast done for the 13th of May, and finally everything should be finished by the final deadline, which is the 20th of May.